Just a week after the Oscars, there was another big night in Hollywood on Monday. Stars including Jay and Mavis Leno and Academy Award winner Kathy Bates came together not to share their passion for the movies, but to express their compassion for the women of Afghanistan who are living under a harshly repressive regime called the Taliban. Of course, Hollywood celebrities aren't the only ones interested in the well-being of women there. Tonight we meet two women equally committed but on opposite sides of the cause. Both are Americans born in Afghanistan, but that's where the similarities end. Here again is Sarah James.
Imagine if a band of machine gun-toting zealots overtook your city overnight, imposing laws that sounded like science fiction, burning books, confiscating TV sets, outlawing toys, making it a crime to fly a kite, and punishing severe crimes by amputation, beheading, hanging. And that's not fiction, it's Afghanistan. For men here, life is difficult. For women, it can be intolerable. This undercover video, shot just last month in the Afghan capital, reinforces images we recall from those early news reports when a radical group of Afghan fighters armed with an extreme version of Islam stormed to power. But what's only just emerging is a picture of what's happened to the women who've endured nearly 3 years under the Taliban's fiery rule.
I think women are slowly being erased. They have no face, they have no voice, they have no future.
An American born in Afghanistan, Zoha Rasekh is a health researcher. She's also author of a groundbreaking new report for Physicians for Human Rights. It goes beyond anecdotes and documents life-threatening consequences for women forbidden by the Taliban from going to work, to school, or even outside alone.
This is women are sinful. Women are prostitutes. If they go out and show their face in public, if they mingle with men, they are bad.
To hear the stories of these Afghan women firsthand, we traveled to northwest Pakistan near the Afghan border. We met up with Zoha here at this refugee camp. She says 97% of the Afghan women she interviewed were clinically depressed, and 70% said their health was worse. Problems that usually lie hidden under a uniform of anonymity called the burqa. To the outside world, this garment has come to symbolize the tyranny of the Taliban. Many Afghan women at this refugee camp say being forced to wear the burqa is just one example of how they've been stripped of basic human rights. But even more alarming, our conversations with these women reveal their enforced seclusion is taking a toll on their physical and emotional health.
I'm easily depressed. I cry and hit my children.
Forced out of her job as a teacher, unable to provide enough food for her 5 children, she told us she even attempted suicide. Zoha says it's a tragic story she's heard all too often.
Most women that I talk did not want to live, young and old equally.
That depression is made worse because the Taliban punishes those who disobey them with beatings, even public amputations and executions. And that creates an atmosphere of terror, Zoha says, which causes widespread psychological trauma. This mother tells us her son can't stop talking about watching a thief get his hand chopped off. Her daughter has had nightmares ever since she was beaten with a metal rod by one of the Taliban's religious enforcers for not wearing a burqa, even though she was only 8 years old at the time. It's more than their mother can bear.
How would you describe the effect of all of this on your emotional health?
I'm so afraid. Sometimes I think it's better to die than to live like this.
To make matters worse, women who needed a doctor told us that under the Taliban, it can be all but impossible to get medical care. Some said they couldn't leave their house because they didn't have the 3-month salary it cost to buy a burqa, or because they didn't have a male relative to escort them. But even a woman who could get to a clinic would find that many female doctors have been forced out of their jobs, and many male doctors are afraid to help.
You can go and see a male doctor for anything as from a cold to cancer, but you can't get the proper treatment because the doctor is not allowed to touch you, to examine you, to directly question you.
But if it's something like cancer,
You're in big trouble.
fear of the Taliban and possible reprisals can reach far beyond the Afghan border, even into this refugee camp in Pakistan. On this trip, the United Nations has supplied Zoha with an armed guard. How would you describe the Taliban?
I see them as destroyers. They're worse than any totalitarian regime in the world.
So what does the Taliban have to say about all this? It turns out the most vocal American supporter of a regime notorious for repressing women is a woman.
Why would I support people who chop off hands, don't let women go to school? Why would I do that? Because there's nothing else in Afghanistan. These are the only people who can give that country a chance to live.
Born in Afghanistan, Layli Helms is a soccer mom who also volunteers her time to lobby on behalf of the Taliban. You're a suburban mom. You're a pro-choice Republican. Do you feel like you have to do mental gymnastics to support the Taliban?
Absolutely not. I'm helping them because they're doing the right thing for the country. They've brought peace and security, law and order, things that the country was incredibly in need of.
Layli says after 20 years of war, the Taliban brought stability, and the way she sees it, life has improved ever since. Layli just went to Afghanistan and borrowed one of our cameras. She says no one she talked to anywhere had any complaints about the Taliban. Here's what she showed us. Women doctors busily going about their work. Women out on the streets saying just how much they like the Taliban.
Everything's fine. They haven't hurt me.
But videotaping anyone in Afghanistan is normally illegal. Still, Layli filmed right out in the open. And when she talked to those women, she was often accompanied by a male driver or a man from the Taliban government. I can't imagine waking up one day and being told I couldn't wear what I'm wearing. I can't go do an interview with you. I think I'd feel like I was suffocating. And these reports from Afghanistan indicate that many women feel that way.
Many women, again, who do not represent the majority of the women in Afghanistan.
Layli says to change the Taliban requires helping them. She accuses those who campaign against the Taliban, like those Hollywood movie stars who gathered 2 nights ago, of trying to impose Western values on Afghan culture.
What gives them the right to tell a people that you cannot be this way?
What would you say to those women in Hollywood?
Get lost.
If it was me out there, I would think, and I would wish somebody would get up and rise and raise my voice.
I'm very grateful for having this opportunity to...
So Zoha is raising her voice on Capitol Hill, telling a congressional committee about her latest research in the refugee camps. And Layli is back from her trip, lobbying behind the scenes. She says the Taliban offers Afghan women security, but Zoha says it's the security of a prison. Meanwhile, under the Taliban, under the burqa, the women of Afghanistan do not yet have the freedom to speak for themselves.
A United Nations report concluded that the Taliban is engaged in, quote, apartheid against women. For more information on this topic, visit our website at www.dateline.msnbc.com.
Coming up, it's supposed to be a day you never forget.
You may kiss.